Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Arundel Camera Club meeting for Thursday, April 10th. My name is John Milliker. I'm the club president for the 2024-2025 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the arts, science, and education in all aspects in fields of photography. For more information about us, please visit www.arundelcameraclub.org. And as we always tell everybody that may be watching us at home, if you are local to the Anne Arundel County or Maryland area, please visit us in person as we meet every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. at the Severna Park Baptist Church in Severna Park, Maryland. Before we move to tonight's contest, do we have any announcements from our officers? None. Not one announcement. Any announcements from any members? Anybody win any contests lately? Get published in a magazine or book or something? Come on up, Mike. And then Ed will come up and have an announcement.
So, just peripheral, I was helping Ron and Bob and everyone with the digital contest this week. We had a couple of people that didn't get their pictures in on time, and unfortunately, after they've done all the work of getting all the pictures together and randomized and delivered to the judge, it's kind of really hard to go back and add more photos back into it. So that deadline, which is noon on Tuesdays, we do our best to include everyone, but if it's too far after that, it's really hard for us to add those extra pictures in. So sorry about that, but remember that deadline is 12 noon because there's other people who have to actually do stuff to pull off the contest. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, can you give that to Ed?
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, your contest team does a lot of work. Not only do they have to take all the images you've uploaded, they've got to randomize them. They've got to make sure that you're sized correctly. They're going to make sure your name isn't going to screw up the machine. They're going to do a lot of things in order to get that to the judge. And something that we always do, and I think some clubs have started adopting that, we send the images to the judge. As I was telling Cynthia earlier, if for some reason the internet, especially with virtual judges, the internet connection between here and her suffers, Zoom will prioritize audio. It'll start killing the video to prioritize audio. So it would not be fair to Tim, for instance, if the internet blipped while his photo was up on the screen. So that's why they have to send that. The judge has to get it, import it in the Lightroom. I've got to get it and import it. So the old days, unfortunately, are gone. So maybe put a thing in your calendar to get them done by Monday on the noon. That way you get them through Tuesday. Go ahead, Ed. What do you have for us?
Well, we're going to have this Saturday. We're going to have our outing to Shen's Ferry Wildberry Preserve and enjoy the beauty of 100 varieties of flowers along the Susquehanna River at Sherry Ferry Wildlife Preserve. Learn about the history of the old tunnel, the trail, and the trees. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. Great flyer.
John, I got one thing.
Yes, Fred.
I just want to let everybody know that up there at Conwingo Dam, they're running for about a week and a half more. Okay, so get up there. I mean, I'm talking like I was up there twice, and I'm talking like 150 units.
Is the dead bird issue done?
Well, it's not even something on the side. It has really nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Both of them. The big thing is the shad run. That's what they go after.
Okay.
If they come out of that dam, I mean, you're not talking like 1 or 2. You're talking, you don't even have time to talk to me.
So what Fred is saying is the Conowingo Dam is running. Are they running constantly or?
Yeah, constantly.
Running constantly for another week and a half?
At least another week and a half. It actually do it at night.
Okay.
There's so much action over there.
Conowingo is like the Eagle Wall of Shame. Has everybody been to the Duck Wall of Shame in Easton? Oh, if you don't know about the Wall of Shame, go to your farm supply, get a thing of corn, and ask one of us where the Wall of Shame is. We'll be happy to share it with you. But there's so many ducks of different varieties that just come right up because people feed them and photograph them. So that's why we call it the Wall of Shame. Do we have anything else? Susan, let's have you talk about the banquet.
Okay, this is another naggy reminder about the banquet. If you're committed to going, we need your checks or your cash. That seals your commitment. We have to have a minimum of 25 people to have a banquet room. It's in the newsletter. It's on the website. I handed out these flyers, which I have more of. if you would like a flyer. Checks can be mailed to Jackie's house. She's the treasurer. If you have cash tonight, I can make change and then turn it into my check that I can mail to Jackie in the event she's not here next week. So
Excellent.
don't lose track of thinking it's the end of May, it's too far away. We really need to know who's coming.
How many people are signed up now?
So far, there's 8. She has
Ooh.
checks from 4 people. So, and I'm mailing at least 2 tomorrow, mine and Mike's.
And our crew has 5, so that's going to be good. 6. We have 6 apparently.
Can you remind us of the date, please?
May the 29th. And I'll give you the yellow flyer.
Has anybody not been? How many people have not been to the banquet? Okay, fantastic. It's really fantastic. The food's good. The food's so good. This is our 3rd year going back to them. They're very gracious to us. They host us very well, and it's a really great fun event with really good food. What else we got? Mike, come on up.
Since Ron's not here, another reminder. So at the banquet, we're going to give away a whole bunch of trophies. And you've been accumulating points all year for the contest you've been entering. And every time you win a ribbon, you're winning points. And those whoever has the most points get trophies. But we also are going to have a contest, the end of year contest, that is a contest of all the best of photos of the year. So it's among all the 1st through 4th place winners from the entire year. Now we have all your digital winners, but what we need is by the last print contest of the year, which is April 24th, 2 weeks from now, any 1st through 4th place print win you had, bring that print to us. And it will end up in the end of year contest, which will take place on the 28th of April. It's offsite, it's private, so y'all don't know who wins until the banquet. So if you won 1st through 4th place, bring those prints to us by the 24th. Bob, Ron, and I will collect them and we'll take them to that contest. But so that's basically the contest, the best of the best, and those winners get trophies and ribbons too.
Nice. Got a question, Ed?
Do you have a summary
Chris.
of the winners so far, 1st to 4th?
They're in the newsletters on the website.
Also on the back of your print.
On the website.
And we also sign the back of your winning prints.
I know, but I use the thing over again.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to stay in the original.
The question was, how do you know what you've won? They're in the newsletter. Mike does a great job keeping them up in the newsletter, and we also write them on the back of your print. And the rule is you're really supposed to keep the print with the mat. We don't want you coming in winning with the white mat and then change it over to a red mat or something, because that would have been thrown out anyway.
But I'll see if I can generate a list of the winning images this weekend and send it out if I have time.
Okay, perfect. And I don't even know who's winning. So the thing is, if you won something and you're not there, then we auction it off to the highest bidder. Anything else? Okay. I think I have everything. Christine is going to talk about our schedule. Yes, Susan.
We have all the makings for the fire pit in the car, but in case the rain comes before we finish, and we have to abandon it, I left all the wood in the car.
Okay. If it's too cold or it starts drizzling, we'll.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not going to tell everybody online that we have a fire pit after the meeting. They should have come. Christine is going to talk about our schedule. I really want to emphasize how important it is to make sure you come to the business meeting. We will not be streaming it, but we will have a Zoom. I don't think we have anything that we really need votes for. Everything is kind of run pretty smoothly, but if we typically have votes, then we do need a quorum of members.
I think we do need to vote our officers back in, technically.
Okay. Yeah, so please try to make it here. If not, there will be a Zoom link that goes out. And another plea for volunteers. We have a lot of people that have stepped up. Fred's stepping up in the digital contest, which he's doing a very good job. This is the first night for him. So if there's a mess up, then we get to blame Fred. But everything is perfect. Fred did a great job. Christine, you want to come up and talk about the calendar?
Good evening. Let's see. On Saturday, we have our field trip that Ed has already talked to us about. Next week, we have a program by Michael Oberman on wildlife and nature photography. The 24th is our next print contest, theme of landscapes. As they reminded you, please bring your prints in so that they can be entered into the year-end contest. You can bring them anytime until then. So if you're not going to make that meeting, you can bring them next week. The May 1st is a photo walk at Kent Island. So we will decide on a meeting place and we'll let everyone know. So don't come here. We will not be meeting at the church that night. And usually we tend to meet about an hour earlier so that we can all get together and walk around. Sometimes we eat dinner together, stuff like that. But we'll come up with a meeting place. I'm sorry, I haven't done that yet.
If you can't make it on time, make sure you got one of our numbers and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, where are you guys at? And we'll get everybody rounded up.
But that's especially for the newer members, that's a good opportunity to walk around with other club members and take photos in a setting that's not a field trip. Yes, Susan?
I saw a blurb come through Facebook, and I haven't looked it up yet. The Bay Bridge is being resurfaced currently at nighttime, so I think lanes might be shut down. So we might have to look into that and be aware what happens by May 1st.
Okay. Susan said that they're resurfacing the Bay Bridge, so we may need to reconsider where we're having our photo walk. But I was just trying to come up with somewhere new that we haven't been in a while.
It might be like midnight to 5 a.m.
Okay.
You just need to be aware when the difficulties are.
Okay. So we should still be able to do it, but there'll just be some lane closures. On May 15th, we have a program by Lester Picker on travel photography. On May 17th is our field trip to the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. On May 22nd is our business meeting. As John said, that's an important meeting to come to. That's where we set our themes for next year. And as if you don't get our emails or you haven't gotten an email from Doug Wood, he's collecting suggestions for the themes for next year. If it's not on the list, it can't be voted in. And usually he sends out a digital a vote for everyone, survey for everyone to vote, so that by the meeting, it's at least narrowed down to the top 3 or 4 or, several themes that people want. So it's important for you to please suggest themes so that we can have better options for next year. And that way you'll also be able to give your input so that maybe you'll get a theme that you really want to try. On May 29th is our year-end awards banquet, and that is the rest of our year this year. And that's another fun thing to come to. As everyone said, we have dinner together, we celebrate the year, we review all the winners. Well, we don't go through all the winners, but we find the best of the best from the year and award them, and it's just a great time. And yes, Ed?
Could we please have the members input where they would like to have their field trip?
That goes in this year-end survey. We send out a survey after the end of year, and usually that input is given back to each of the Ed was asking if we could have input on where people would like to go for field trips next year. But that we do send out a year-end survey where people can give feedback to the programs, the contest, and the field trips, and make suggestions. Usually, that's already part of our year-end system. And so then I will hand this over. Who has information on our judge tonight or wants to introduce her? No one knows? Well, I know Cynthia is our judge. That's all I know. So if you can introduce yourself, I'm sorry. Ron hasn't been able to make it, and he's the one with your information. So if you could maybe give us a brief summary about yourself, and welcome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. Yes, my name is Cynthia Keith. I'm a member of the North Bethesda Camera Club. I have been actively pursuing this wonderful hobby we call photography since high school. Now that I'm retired, I can enjoy it even more. And as you know, when I judge for you, I usually am looking in 4 categories on each image. The first is craftsmanship. That's the details, the technical aspect. Is it in focus? Is the exposure correct? Etc. The second is composition. The third is creativity. That's maybe looking at something that may be very common in an unusual way, or doing something in post-processing to enhance the image. And finally, communication. Is the photographer trying to communicate a mood or a moment in time, things like that. So I'll try to hit on all of those things. I have seen all the images beforehand. And for the first round, I will spend a little bit more time on each image so that, the photographers in the group who are just coming along hopefully can learn something from it, and everyone can learn from it. And if nothing else, we'll have an enjoyable time.
That's great, Cynthia. Thank you so much for being here and that great explanation. We're looking forward to it. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Lightroom on our main screen, which is going to take a second here. Let's transition over to here, and let's see what we've got. I'm bringing up our novice category, which I believe, let me click on that. I believe I'm seeing 27 images. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You have that on your side, Cynthia?
You?
Okay, so that's going to be 1st through 4th and 3 honorable mentions. And what I'll do is we'll go through them once, and I will read the names out loud. And then once we're done, I'll go back to image number 1, and you'll have the floor.
Thank you.
Number 1, tunnel view. Number 2, majestic. Number 3, islands. Number 4, middle of nowhere. Number 5, Aruban morning. Why aren't we moving? Here we go. Try again. Number 6. Oh, nope. I skipped. Number 6. Sunset on Lake Tahoe. Number 7. Norway fjords. Number 8. Mammoth Hot Springs. Number 9. Peace and quiet. 10 is Desert Eve. 11, wide open spaces. 12 is smoke on the water. 13, bench of serenity. 14, Grand Tetons autumn afternoon. 15, waiting at port. 16, Yosemite winter chapel fog. 17, autumn above Jenny Lake. 18, Lake Mavatin cold winter morning. 19, rhythmic waves. Number 20, Naxos Overlook. Number 21, Village. Number 22, Harborside. Number 23, Alone on the Beach. Number 24, Aaron's Gem. Number 25, Norway Calm. Number 26, Jurassic Park. And number 27 is Island Light. I'm going to go back to try to find my mouse cursor and go back to image number 1. Get there. I'm there, and Cynthia, it's over to you.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. Excellent images as always from this club. So this first black and white, taken from a very common angle here in Yosemite, a wonderful place to be. And I think black and white sometimes works best, as Ansel Adams showed us, when you have sky or sun that is not cooperating and making the image a little harsh in color. So kudos to the photographer for looking at this in black and white. I think one thing about black and white is you want to see all of the range of from full black to full white in the image. And we see that here, but I would suggest that we can do a little bit more to bring out some of the contrast in the trees in the lower third of the image. There is detail there. And bringing out a little contrast, maybe that means increasing the exposure there on the trees a little bit. And don't forget, when we look at an image, our eye is drawn to the brightest part of the image or to the one with the most saturation. So in black and white, it's going to go to the whitest parts. And of course, we have that in the sky, but we also have that in the mountains to the left of Half Dome. And I think you really want us to focus more between El Capitan and the falls. So you might consider darkening those far mountains a little bit. It'll make Half Dome stand out some more, and then show us a little more detail in the trees so they don't block up. This will be out.
Okay, number 1 is out. Number 2.
So this is a lovely image, well composed. Everything is sharp. We have the birds, the placement of them. Yes, they go behind the tree, but look at the individual birds. They're easily separated here. We don't have a lot of overlap between the birds. They're easily identifiable as geese. They're moving into the image, so they have some room to fly there beyond the tree. But also notice the light there at the horizon, early day or evening, late evening, probably early day. Lovely catch of the sunrise there, and especially the reflection on the water. So we have some lovely light going on there. You can even see it reflected on the bench. Really pleasing, calming kind of scene with no huge waves on the water. The wind is still or you used a fast shutter speed, one or the other, because the tree is not moving. This is a lovely image. The only thing I would say to the photographer is you're going to have to go in there and do something about the halos around the dark parts of the image. You can't see it here. You'd have to blow it up, as I did. But if you look around the birds, particularly, and maybe even the trunk of the tree, you'll see significant halos there. There are ways to eliminate that in Photoshop, for example. But in such a large expanse, because the tree also has some halos, yeah, it would take you eons to get it done. The best thing is to go back in your steps in your post-processing, especially in Lightroom, and see what you did that caused them. And usually that means we have over-sharpened or oversaturated or underexposed something to an extreme. In Lightroom, as you know, when you're fiddling around with the sliders, especially in the color sliders, if you move them to be plus or minus more than, say, 20 in either direction, it's liable to show halos like this around dark objects. So the image as it is now and projected on your screen is probably looks just fine. But if you ever go to print this, you're going to see them jumping off the page at you. So that's one thing you might want to think about. This will be in.
Number 2 is in. Number 3.
Another black and white here, or seemingly black and white because of the monotone day that we have here among the clouds and on the water. Again, a very still scene. Um, so frequently, what we'll find is less is more, especially when there's nothing happening in a large portion of the image. In this case, in the sky. So there would be lots of things you could think about here. Is maybe increasing the contrast in the sky, taking this to complete black and white, and doing a lot more dramatic things with the clouds. The or cropping it down and making it look more like a panorama. But in general, the light on this day was not your friend. And the image is very flat. So I think, sometimes you're in a wonderful place and it's just not working for a photograph, but it makes great, great memories. This will be out.
Number 3 is out. Number 4.
And the photographer here noticed this nice line of the trees following the little creek that's going down through this otherwise very dry environment. The light on the hills is lovely. The dried grasses gives you the feeling that, boy, we have a lot of drought going on out here. But again, it's this line of the trees converging into the gully and then coming down towards you that's the most attractive. And to emphasize that, you might want to think about cropping out the sky. Again, there's nothing going on up there. It's nice and blue, but it's really perhaps pulling us away from this line that you obviously saw. So you might consider taking it down, taking the top of the image down to just to where the sky ends, there on the kind of left-hand side, and maybe even cropping in a little bit from the left. That would give you more of an emphasis of this design that we see in the trees. This will be out.
Number 4 is out. Number 5.
So this is an interesting scene with the seaweed and kelp and stuff up on the beach. There are trees. There are clouds going on in the sky, so we have some interest up there. And we have the interesting rocks that are pointing out to sea, and then you see the mountain in the far distance. The color in the seaweed and kelp is really interesting. I think if they were all just kind of dead brown, this would be kind of a boring image. But they do add some interest to it. However, I would suggest to the photographer that when they decided the scene needed to be bluer, that they did a little too much. So if you look at the waves that are crashing onto the beach, you'll see that the white spray is all blue. So you may have increased your blue saturation, as you can see, especially in the sky, but it really detracts from the waves that we see in the middle ground. So you might want to go back in and reduce your blue saturation in the water. I know, frequently when we take a picture at the beach and we think it's a lovely scene, the water comes back kind of gray and blah. That's just the way it works. But here I think it's just a little too saturated in the waves. This will be out.
Number 5 is out. Number 6.
This image has lovely light on the rocks, as you can see here. And especially on the rocks there on the far left. And then as we come around this little peninsula on the right, where the chair is, I assume that's the lifeguard chair, is. So there's really nice light going on in the rocks and everything. Carries over to the beach a bit. And the interesting thing here is to see snow on the mountains and behind, and also in the foreground and middle ground here. You might want to think about looking at the pine trees. The light is good there, but something tells me you may have saturated that a bit too. It's nice to make a Velvia kind of moment, but sometimes it tends to make things look a little unnatural. So you may want to go back and just turn down your orange slider on the trees, paint that down a little bit, but leaving the lovely light on the rocks. This will be out.
Number 6 is out. Number 7.
A nice environmental scene in the northern parts here, and the lupin in the foreground, and the wonderful color balance with the blue in the water and the sky. Again, be careful with your saturation. If you could see the histogram that I'm looking at, the blue has really been pumped up a little bit, maybe too much. You can see it especially in the uh, mountains on the far left there. They're getting a little blue. So be gentle with your saturation. We get it. It's a beautiful blue sky. It doesn't have to hit us between the eyes. And the water too, the fjord. But otherwise, I think the photographer has done a nice job. One thing I might suggest is that you take the lower edge of the image and crop that up just a little bit. You will see kind of in the lower right corner that brown gray rock or whatever. I would crop up just a little bit to just above, if you see the lupin that's right at the bottom edge, just those little buds. Crop it up just above there. That should take out most, if not all, of that rock. Then you can make that go away with the remove tool in Photoshop or Lightroom. And it'll also take out some of the greenery in the front. What we want to see are the flowers, and the water, and the mountains. This will be in.
Number 7 is in. Number 8.
And here we have the interesting boardwalk at Mammoth Hot Springs, and a good view of the trees and scrub that grow nearby. The one thing I would say about this image is the light was kind of flat that day, so you might want to go in and increase the contrast a little bit to give a little more definition to it. And also, hopefully when you were there, you took lots of different angles of this scene. In general, the boardwalk doesn't lead us to or from anything particularly interesting. We can't really see the definition in the water and the sand down by the boardwalk. So it kind of leaves the viewer wondering, okay, what do you want me to look at? Which then says, oh, it must be the most saturated parts, which would be the ground cover there at the bottom and also in the distance. And that may not be what the photographer intended. So hopefully you took lots of different compositions at this place. This will be out.
Number 8 is out. Number 9.
So this is a really interesting photo because of the juxtapositions here. So we have on the lower left-hand corner this lovely reflection of trees and in the water. But it's hard to find out where those trees are. And then we look and the people are sitting on this pier or whatever that is highly graffitied in very bright colors. And the two people don't seem to be interacting at all. The lady is looking at her nails and the man is looking out to sea. And that makes you scratch your head. And then we look at the falls and the water below and we say, that looks like ice down there. So it really has a lot of interesting parts to it. You might want to think about cropping off from the right-hand side in maybe about a third. Just enough so we still see the falls here, but we don't need to see all of the black in the upper third of the image towards the right. Again, our eye keeps wanting to go to the saturated or brighter parts, but that is kind of like a black hole that we get sucked into. This will be out.
Number 9 is out. 10.
So I mentioned don't get excited about your saturation sliders. And while this is a lovely picture of the mittens, the intensity of the orange and the blue really detracts from the otherwise lovely landscape. Everything seems to be sharp. The horizon is level. All those technical things are good, but the oversaturation really does a number on the image. go back, lower the saturation some, and try again. This will be out.
10 is out. Image 11.
So this is a good environmental shot, if you will. We have this field that seemingly goes on forever in a very flat landscape, but with lovely clouds and a tree just to highlight that there is other life besides the field, the corn or whatever in the field. Notice the placement of the horizon in the lower third, which really makes us think about expanse, especially sky, and the fact that there are no mountains or anything here. So it makes it give that bigger feeling of expanse. The placement of the tree in the lower left third, which is visually interesting, but it kind of is leaning us into the clouds, which are not overexposed at all. This will be in.
11 is in. 12.
A lovely time of day and the light catching the mist coming off of the creek here. And well positioned by the photographers. So we see the line of trees receding off into the right-hand side, but the bank of the creek coming toward us, but we don't have too much of the bank, just enough to give us the feel that it's there. And then, of course, the lovely reflections in the water, balanced with the trees on the left. And the placement of the sun, low in the horizon, but the horizon in the middle. And, psychologically, when you're trying to convey peaceful or calm or whatever, frequently putting your horizon right in the middle of the image, even if it's a vertical like this, will help you to communicate that calmness. This will be in.
12 is in. Image 13.
So the interesting, intriguing part of this image is just the little peak of color in the trees, which tells you, okay, well, this must be early fall coming. But it's a nice, serene scene. Again, notice the horizon is in the middle and very still water with nice reflections. Now I'm going to tell you that nothing is a rule, nothing is cast in stone. My suggestion on this image would actually be to crop up from the bottom of the image all the way up until that first little bit of reflection of the orange in the water. So that's going to lower your horizon, right? Now it's going to be like in the lower third. But it will draw the viewer's attention to the bench and the dock and the upper part of the tree, which I think is probably what drew you here. And you probably love the reflection, and it is lovely. But you might want to, and you'll still get some reflection. We'll still know it's there. But I think that would help. It also will help by eliminating some of the floating stuff on the water, especially in the lower right, which might detract. So this will be out.
13 is out. Image 14.
So a lovely image of the Grand Tetons here in fall around probably Horseshoe Bend, which is the place for photographers. You're probably all lined up in a row at this point. There is some clouds going on in the sky. Again, watch your saturation here, especially in high altitudes with thin air, as you know. If you're using a polarizer, it may tend to oversaturate your skies. You want to back it off just a hair, especially when you see really dark blues like we do at the top of this image. So keep that in mind if you're using a polarizer. It's a good place to use a polarizer because the leaves will be shiny. But one other thing I would point out here, which is true in digital photography, is that for whatever reason, I'm not a scientist or a technical person, but yellows and reds tend to get blown out in our images. So if you're taking a field of flowers, or in this case, autumn trees, the flowers are red, the trees are golden, is to go into your, if you're in Lightroom, to go into your sliders under the color mixer and just back off, maybe just decrease the luminance a little bit of the yellows. It will help to make them less blown out. This will be out.
14 is out. Image 15.
A lovely time of day, excellent reflections in the water. Again, notice where the horizon is, right in the middle, so it gives you that peaceful, calm feeling. The thing that really makes this is the fact that there are these hills or trees behind the silhouetted boat, which gives, just think if they weren't there, it would just be flat sky, boat, and water. But this gives it a little interest and helps tell the story. But I would suggest to the photographer also look at this perhaps as almost a square or something just off of vertical. And think about cropping in behind the main boat, maybe halfway between that and the boat that's behind it. And also maybe raising the lower boundary of the image. Again, that's going to move your horizon out of the middle, I know. But it will make it more about the sun, the reflection in the boat, than it is about the gray water, which occupies the lower half, left half of the image. This will be out.
15 is out. Image 16.
So this is an interesting and nice capture of the fog in Yosemite with the snow on the ground, the trees, which are the tree on the right, which is then echoed by the rock formation behind it, which you can just barely see through the fog. But we get the picture that there's a big mountain or a big rock back there. I find it interesting the technique that the photographer used on the chapel. It looks, it makes it look almost cartoonish, just the part of the chapel, but maybe it's just the way it was treated in the post-processing. I don't find it unattractive. It's just interesting. But I think the whole scene has been well composed and a lovely time of day to capture. This will be in.
16 is in. Image 17.
A lovely place to be. If no one's ever been to Jenny Lake, it's lovely to be there on this kind of hazy morning. Again, here we go with the sky isn't doing anything for you. So why is it there? I would suggest you would want to crop that down some, at least until it gets almost to the top of the tree on the right. But your eye goes primarily to the lower right-hand corner of the image, again, because it's the most saturated and it's bright. And something tells me, although this is a lovely hillside, it wasn't why you took the picture. It was probably for the grand vista. But the lower right-hand corner really dominates the image. So hopefully when you were there, you took dozens of pictures of different compositions that would show either the hillside or the lake or some other combination. This will be out.
17 is out. 18.
So this is a very interesting image, and we'll just start from the top down. Notice the shape of the clouds and the clouds over the very high mountains, and then the beautiful sunrise behind them. And then look down into the village here. The light on the building on the right and the chapel. And then notice the light on the snow-covered hill in front of you. Lovely light on that. This is well composed, technically well done as well. My only suggestion to the photographer is you may want to lighten up those buildings that are in between the one on the right and the chapel. Just a hair, just give them a little more light, warm light, like what we're seeing coming into the others, just to show us a little more of the detail of these buildings, which are interesting in themselves. This will be in.
18 is in. 19.
The picture of our family standing on the rocks. This is another one of the ones where we have very interesting subject matter in the colorful rocks. Notice the photographer's choice of shutter speed. As you can see, the spray in the waves as they're crashing here, especially in the lower right, which is very nice. Think if it was a really slow shutter speed, that would be blurred. But that's very well done. So you get this feeling of power and motion in the water. With the people looking out there, gives you a point of interest as well, and also a way to measure the scale of this rocky outcropping. The one thing I would say about this is we don't need the sky. Yes, we know they're looking out over that, but they're looking out over the ocean. They're not particularly paying attention to the sky, would be my guess. So I would crop out the sky entirely and maybe take a little bit off of the right hand side to put the people in a more prominent place. But this image, like the one we saw before, has significant halos around the people and other dark parts of the image. So again, if you were ever going to print this, you can almost see the halos even at this size of the image. But if you were ever going to print it, it would really jump off the page at you. So be careful. Go back to your post processing. Look at where you may have oversaturated or oversharpened and back it off just a little bit. Watch those halos, zoom in on it, and you'll be able to see when it's gone. This will be out.
19 is out. Number 20.
Another lovely black and white with an interesting perspective. So here we're looking down on this chapel here in the lower left, and yet we have this vast expanse out before us. So it's a very interesting scene. I think the choice of black and white may have been the best here, depending on what the light and the hillsides looked like. But I think the fact, again, your eye goes to the first bright part or the largest bright part, which in this case is the sky. But my guess is you really want us to look at the chapel and then the setting. So in black and white, you have wonderful things you can do with the sky. And you could turn that sky very dark, which would pull our eye back into the scene. You can darken it, but you probably still want to leave a little difference there between the clouds and the rest of the sky. One thing I'll tell you, if you go into Photoshop or Lightroom and you tell it to select sky, it's probably going to select part of the mountain as well. So select sky may not work here. You may have to brush it in, but something to work on. This will be out.
Number 20 is out. Number 21.
Also a lovely scene that we don't see around here for sure, with the colorful village at the foot of these mountains. And a nice time of day. They're not overly too bright, even though they're white buildings there. It's well contained. We have the boat on the right hand side, so we obviously see this is some sort of fishing village, etc. I think here, this was probably your first instance of, whoa, look at this village and the huge mountains, etc. And it's always good to, as they say, bracket your compositions. So in the old days when we were shooting film, you may remember they told us to bracket our exposures because we never really knew exactly what we were getting. We couldn't look on the back of the camera like we can now. But I would suggest always think about bracketing your exposure. So once you took this image, hopefully you stood back and said, now what really attracted me to this? And my guess is it was probably just that row of the village of those colorful and varied houses. So you could shoot that as a pano across there, or you could take this image and crop down all the way down into the mountains and maybe a little from the bottom of the image so that it's a pano of just the village. That would be another interesting look. This will be out.
Number 21 is out. Number 22.
Another interesting black and white. Another one where I would suggest you might want to think about cropping this as a pano. It's really interesting. We have this barren landscape and then this large, interesting building and a boat, which you might want to lighten up just a little bit. It's a little close to the edge, but it's interesting. A yacht or whatever it is. And, I don't know that we need all this water in front of us. There's nothing happening there. And cropping that up to just below the buoy that's there would move your horizon down. And then you can think about what you want to do with the sky. You probably want to darken it some. Again, our eye goes to the brightest spot, which is the left-hand side of the sky, which in some ways pulls us over to the building, but I think you really want us to look at the building first. So again, darkening the sky some, leaving the texture of the clouds that are up there, and cropping it from the bottom. This will be out.
Number 22 is out. Number 23.
Here's another one where a lovely scene. We've got this line of the horizon. I'll come back to in a minute. But the line of the waves, the line of the water on the beach, and then the person walking into the distance. The bird is a nice added touch there. And we get, again, this feeling of, because the horizon is in the middle, of solitude, of peace, even though the waves are crashing onto the beach. It's this single person walking along in the water. So the photographer did a good thing of the timing of where the person would be. And notice you can see their arms separated, so you can tell it's a person. So the photographer did a nice job with that. The one thing, other than the fact that the sky is a little oversaturated, the one thing that kills this image is the horizon is not straight. That's really easy to fix these days in Photoshop or Lightroom. So I would say go back, straighten up that horizon, look at your saturation a little bit. Otherwise, a nice composition. This will be out.
Number 23 is out. Number 24.
A lovely scene, again, of a vast rock outcropping. We have some people up here in the far right-hand side to give us a little feeling for scale. And everything is sharp. The lighting is fine. There's definition in the shadow areas. Nice blue water there. But notice that a third of the image is grass. I don't know that we need all that grass. So if you cropped it up some, maybe as far up as just below where you see the water breaking at the bottom of the rock, just below that. So we get some grass so that we feel like, okay, you're standing on something. But we don't have all of this grass, again, because it's bright and it's well saturated. It draws our eye away. We rarely will look up and see those people up there with so much pulling us down into the foreground. So a little cropping on the bottom there go a long way. This will be out.
Number 24 is out. Number 20.
Hello? Are we still connected?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Now I can. Okay.
Okay. Number 25 is up.
25. Good. So again, another interesting black and white. And the horizon is straight on this one. With the calm water, I think the title had calm in it. We have interesting clouds going on up there. Good choice, perhaps, of using black and white. So again, where does your eye go first? It goes to the clouds because they're the brightest part. Unfortunately, if you could see the histogram on this, the clouds are really blown out. So hopefully, you can go back in your post-processing and darken them up a little bit. But also when you were shooting the image, if you're using a DSLR, then you will be able to modify your exposure. Some, when you have very bright things in your viewfinder, to pull them down a little bit so they don't get blown out like this. The other thing I would say is, so your eye goes to the clouds first, then where does it go? It comes down and it shoots to the left to the rocks, which also have some bright highlights on them. And it's way later when you finally notice that there's a boat and then some buildings in the foreground, in the distance. So if you really want us to see the boat, you might want to lighten that just a little bit. Let's see some detail in the boat so that it's not just a black object there. So I think a little more work in your post-processing on this one is called for. This will be out.
Number 25 is out. Number 26.
Now, this is a very interesting place. Notice the flora that we have here, the very tall, flat trees. But the key here is the light. The beautiful light that's falling is selectively on the foreground and on the hills in the background, with this spring green on those hills being spotlighted. There's interesting stuff going on in the clouds. Notice the photographer has darkened the sky up there to almost black above them. Yet we still get this feeling of the light shining through because of the light in the foreground on the forest here. This is well composed as well. Everything is well balanced. You might want to think about pulling the right-hand side in, just cropping that in a little bit. I know we have this interesting mountain on the right that we see the silhouette of, but because it's right on the edge there, it kind of is more detracting than it is additive to the image. And you will still get the beautiful light and feeling of the forest. This will be in.
Number 26 is in, and number 27.
Now, we don't really think about cactus and lighthouse beach in the same breath, but obviously in various parts of the world, that's the way things are. The photographer did a great job here of placement. Notice the lighthouse is placed in between the cacti. They don't interfere with it. There's a little space around it. And the lighthouse is not burned out. We see all the detail there in the various windows, etc. But we have good definition in the foreground as well. And they've toned down the sky. So this is a well composed and well executed image. This will be in.
And 27 is in. Let's go back to the list. And I'm going to tell Lightroom not to show us the outs. I can see it on my screen here. No, wrong one. Try it again. There we go. I see 8 images. Do you have the same thing, Cynthia?
Yes, we should only have 7. Yes.
I have 8 for some reason. Do we have 8 on our sheets?
No, I agree. They might have 8 in on the
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said 7.
4. The first and 4 plus 3 honorable mentions. Is that what we're looking for?
Correct.
So we can exclude or take out the lupin. The second one there from the left.
This one here,
Yes,
that is number 7. Number 7 is out.
So you want me to start from the bottom? We'll do honorable mention first.
That'll be great.
Okay. So honorable mention to the forest, the one on the far left, we'll call number 6.
That is number 26. That's an honorable mention.
And honorable mention to what's now called number 5.
That one right there, number 18, is an honorable mention.
And honorable mention to number 4.
Number 16, honorable mention.
Fourth place is number 2.
That's number 11. That's 4th place.
Third place is number 4.
Oh, I just mixed it on you. Is that the lighthouse?
Yes, third place is the lighthouse.
Number 27 is 3rd place. Yeah, as I flag them, I move them around.
I see that. So second place is what's now number 1.
2nd place is
Yep. And first place is that one. I'm not hearing you if you're saying anything.
Testing, test. Cynthia, do you hear us now?
Yes, yes.
We had to get a battery change, so apologize for that. Christine's gonna go again with introducing our winners here.
Okay, number 26, honorable mention Jurassic Park to Timothy. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your list. Houston.
Yes, this was taken in the island of Kauai, and it's titled Jurassic Park because they filmed the movie at parts of this location here.
You take that with you.
Our next honorable mention is Lake Mavatin Cold Winter Morning, Charles Goldblum.
It was minus 15 degrees then. It was in December, northern Iceland. It's hard to operate your camera when you're that cold.
And it wasn't sunrise, it was like 10:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
no, that was noon.
Honorable mention number 16, Yosemite Winter Chapel Fog, Beth Robbins.
So it's interesting, the church actually, the roof had been recently redone. And so it was a different color than the rest of the wood. And that's why it kind of stood out and looked a little odd, I suppose, to the judge.
Fourth place, Wide Open Spaces, Timothy Houston. Sorry, I'm not used to reading the names.
Yes, this is actually Provence, France, of all places, but it's just instead of lavender fields, a nice wheat field.
Third place is Island Light, John Crooks. Okay. Second place is Majestic by Deborah Davis. She's on Facebook. John, see if she makes a comment. And then first place is Smoke on the Water, Stephen Rizza.
New member.
Okay. Great picks there. Cynthia, we're
For
going to...
number 2, Deborah says for Majestic.
Hold on a second. Let me put your microphone on. There you go.
Okay, sorry. For number 2, Deborah Davis is on Facebook and says Majestic was taken at Fort McHenry in Baltimore.
Nice. Okay, Cynthia, do you need a break?
No, I'm good. You're good.
Okay, we got 47 of them coming up. And I'm going to get started with the names as soon as the monitor decides to cooperate. There we go. And here we go. Number 1, Black Sand. Number 2, UP Falls. Number 3, Oregon. Number 4, Calvert Hang. Number 5, Bison in Mist. Number 6, Crossing into Italia. Number 7, A Place to Rest. Number 8, Warm to Cool. And it doesn't look like that on the monitor. Let's try to go back. Yeah, it doesn't look like that on the monitor for our people here in the audience. Number 9, Three Sisters View. Ten, Tulips. 11, 11, Spruce Knob Milky Way. 12, on Lake Gaston. 13, Hemlock Falls. 14, Spruce Knob Lake Sunset. And for everybody here in the audience, once we get through these, I will plug in the monitor directly because for some reason the wireless connection is just not doing us a favor. 15, Day is Done. 16, High Plains Homestead. 17, Secret Place. 18, Schoodic Sunset. 19, Backcountry Serenity. 20, Old Barn. 21, Peruvian Picture. 22, Baltimore Divided. 23, Pacific Edge. Number 24, San Francisco. Number 25, Atlantic Sunrise, OCMD. 26, Sedona. 27, Pisgah Forest. 28, The West. 29, Sand and Fence. 30, Annapolis Harbor. 31, Borax Flats. 32, Through the Trees. 33, View of a Cascade. 34, Intercoastal Bridge. 35, Super Sky. 36, Sunset. 37, Yosemite. 38, Emerald Lake. 39, LJS. 40, Big Windmill. 41, White Sands. 42, The Point. 43, 15 Mile Creek. 44, Backyard Waters. 45, Trails End. 46, Blue Hour from Spruce Knob. And 47, Fort McHenry. Now I'm going to plug in this monitor cable. It's probably going to freak everything out that we have set on the mixer, but let's see what we can do here. Let's go HDMI 1. Let's go to the figure out how this thing works. Still there, Cynthia? Did I lose Cynthia? Oops. Oh, stream was going good. Always got to be something, huh? I may need to, that may have screwed up. I may need to change Cynthia's speaker to now the LG TV. Are you back, Cynthia?
I'm here.
All right. Okay, I'm going to put you back on the monitor. We're hardwired into the monitor now. Let me bring Lightroom up over here so that everybody can see. And then fix the display for our friends on the stream. There we go. For some reason, it's not doing right. So let's fit to screen. We got half of you up there. All right, there we go. We've gone through all 47, Cynthia. I'm going to go back to number 1. And whenever you're ready.
So volcanic place. If you couldn't tell it by the black sand, you can certainly tell by the mountains behind it. A lovely morning. The sky is held properly. There's a little mist coming off of the water. We have the interesting black with the weeds, grasses around it, and then this little bit of ice here in the foreground. Again, your eye goes primarily to the ice because it's the brightest part, which is a shame because I really like everything else. So if you cropped it up and took the ice out, we'd still know it was a cold place with volcanic mountains. This will be out.
Get back on the screen over here. Here we go. Number 1. There we go. Number 1 is out. Number 2.
Small scene along the stream with the light coming in from the left. In the water. Notice now photographer's choice of shutter speed for this was slow, so the water would be silky. As opposed to what we saw at the beach in the last review where you saw the spray. So this is a good choice of shutter speed for this. And the photographer has also darkened up the sky up here in the upper right, which is good, which keeps our eye down here to the left. You may want to darken the water just beyond this main part of the falls here, the middle left of the image. If you darken that, our eye would really come into the foreground here, which I think is probably the most interesting with the leaves and the water. This will be out.
Number 2 is out. Number 3.
Oops, bear with me. Also a lovely scene. The purple and the blue and the green obviously looks spring, inviting, etc. We've got a lovely sunset going on in the background. And something interesting in the water with the rock and the waves. I think it's a lovely place to be. I'm not sure it's the best composition for this. We have a lot of the path or whatever here in the lower right-hand corner, which isn't all that visually attractive. Hopefully, again, in this scene, you took lots of different images and varied your compositions. This will be out.
Number 3 is out. Number 4.
So heavy hangs the bar over the head here of this tree, which is now horizontal. And you can see its fellows have ended up down in the water. But a good choice by the photographer of where to place that tree in the upper part of the image, which gives you a feeling of vertical height and emphasizes the drop that it's about to take. And the background totally gone so that we concentrate on the image here in the front. It's an interesting environmental study, but it'll be out. And again, I can only choose so many. So bear with me.
Number 4 is out. Number 5.
This is a lovely setting for a number of reasons. The composition, notice the stream, which leads us back to the buffalo, the lovely light here in the foreground on the snow, the fog or mist from the thermal waters probably in the background, the bare trees, as well as the trees with some branches on them. A lovely composition here and good light. The only one thing I would say is maybe make the buffalo a little more contrasty, a little blacker. You could brush that in Lightroom, just a little contrast on them, which would also lighten them up a little bit so that our eye goes up the stream and lands at the buffalo. This will be in.
Number 5 is in. Number 6.
Sorry, I'm just a little behind here. There we go. These glaciers are very interesting. You get the feeling that you're way up there because the clouds are at your eye level. But notice the clear sky above them, which is an interesting weather phenomena here. We've got good color in the hills. We've got great detail and texture there, and interest in the clouds. The clouds on the left-hand side are a little brighter, which pulls us over there. It's because of where the light is hitting. You can either darken them down, lighten up the others, crop something there to keep our eye back in the glaciers, which was in the title. This will be out.
Number 6 is out. Number 7.
So again, a good placement by the photographer so that we see this hole in the rock, yet we get the idea that here we are at the edge of the ocean. The sky is got some blue in it. The white clouds behind the rock actually help it to be stand out a little bit more. The hole is very prominent, so you see that. But the interesting thing about this image is the starfish scattered around. But I want to know how this guy who's up here on the left of the hole, way up there, how he got up there. And I hope you weren't there when the waves got that high. Very interesting. But the other interesting part, which you may not notice at first, are the seals that are hauled out on the rocks down here in the lower part. So a good capture, an environmental shot of the ocean and the animals that live in it. But this will be out.
Number 7 is out.
Hello.
Number 8.
Okay. Again, a good environmental image with all the mist coming in off of the water here, up the hills, with interesting color in this. You see the tide is out, I assume, and you see part of the beach here on the left-hand side in the fog. It's a nice capture, a pleasing image. We don't have to see all the sky, which is just fog anyway. But we get enough of the blue in the water to understand what's going on here. Very lovely image, but this will be out.
Number 8 is out. Number 9.
So here we have a shot in the desert. Notice the color of the ground and rocks here. The sandstone is not oversaturated, which is important. But the photographer did a good job on the composition here. We've got the foreground here, especially on the left, of these tumbling rocks that have come down. But also look at the structures right in the middle, that the photographer was very careful to see that we get some spacing in between those pillars out there, see some sky in between them. So it's very nicely done. But this will be out.
Number 9 is out. Image 10.
So I mentioned that you, in digital photography, frequently get oversaturated yellows and reds. And this is a perfect example of that. But the photographer did a great job of placement of the camera. Notice the low angle, they're right down on the dirt, so that you get this expanse going into infinity back there of tulips. But we have interesting buds here on the right-hand side, etc. You see great detail in the leaves and everything. It's very well composed, but go back, take your red slider for the luminance and just pull it down just a little bit. We'll still get the impression of the yellow of the red tulips, but we'll get a little more definition in them as well. This will be out.
10 is out. 11.
This image is, for those of you who have not yet tried night photography, it's a challenge. First, to get an interesting foreground, which the photographer did here. Second, to figure out how long your shutter speed should be. And it really depends on what you're looking for. Do you want their stars to be just pinpoints, or do you want them to be streaks? And the photographer did a good job here of making them mostly pinpoints, but you still get the nice color in the Milky Way. The one thing I would suggest to the photographer is you can bring that out a little bit more. Go in and play with your blacks in the sky, make them darker, or increase your contrast. There, you'll still get a nice black sky, and it'll make the Milky Way really pop more. But otherwise, well captured. This will be out.
Number 11 is out. Image 12.
So this is a nice lake scene. The photographer did a good job of getting in between the trees, but yet blocking the sun and the brightest part of the reflection on the lake. Good job there. And the overall exposure is well held. Notice we didn't have all the sky there. We didn't need it. We get it. We don't have to see the tops of the trees and the sky. So very well composed. The photographer did a good job there. The horizon is level. The one thing I would say is, again, your eye goes to the brightest spot, and it's the roof of the dock over here that's really bright. You might want to go in and darken that down, maybe as much as the left-hand roof there, just so that we look at the wonderful reflection in the overall scene. This will be out.
12 is out. Image 13.
This is a lovely capture of the stream. So again, notice the photographer's choice of shutter speed here. You get a very silky, milky look in the water, but also notice that the leaves and things are tack sharp. You were very lucky to have no wind that day. For those of us who've tried to shoot this on a windy day, it really drives you crazy. But very nicely done. We don't have to see the whole forest. We get the idea. It is bright, but it's not as bright as the water. So we stay focused on the stream and the rocks and the patterns in the water. This is well done. This will be in.
13 is in. 14.
An interesting shot with the starburst on the sun here, small f-stop. With the interesting foreground of the flowers and the little finger lake or stream there, and good lighting on the rest of the image. The sky is interesting. We've got different varieties of clouds up there. It's a little dark in the darker areas. I'm sure there's probably some detail there. You might want to just lighten those areas up just a hair, just so we can see more of the detail. This will be out.
Number 14 is out. 15.
Again, another lovely sunrise or sunset. Notice the position of the horizon in the middle, and it's straight. And, with the trees silhouetted behind the sky and the clouds there, there's a little detail and a little light in the pier that's here on the right. You might want to bring that out just a little bit more so we can see a little bit more of the interesting light on the boards there. The rocks on the left here, or whatever that is, if they're not too unattractive, you might want to put a little more light in there too, just so we see a little detail. Otherwise, it's kind of this black blob on the left. This will be out.
Number 15 is out. 16.
So this is an interesting place to be, primarily because of the juxtaposition of the barn or house and those rocks that are behind it. Lovely setting, and really makes you scratch your head and say, gee, I'd like to go there and explore that some. But don't look at the background. Something is going on with the trees in the distance that doesn't make them look very natural or appealing, go back in your post-processing, see what happened there, and do something to make them look a little less blue, etc. Otherwise, the foreground is very interesting. This will be out.
16 is out. 17.
A lovely scene. I can see why they enjoyed being there with the yellow flowers and the little stream leading you back or coming from the falls there in the distance. Notice the sky has been darkened, so it's not interfering. Our eye goes to the falls and also to the little path that obviously we're standing on, and maybe we jump across this stream to the other side. But I don't know that we need all of the foreground because it's just the trampled grass. So you might want to crop this up to almost the edge of the stream there on the bottom. And then also on your yellow slider, take it back just a little so we can see a little bit more detail in the yellow flowers. This will be out.
17 is out. 18.
This is a lovely image of these boats. And very lovely sunrise here. Notice the calmness in the water. There is not a thing moving. There's a little haze on the trees on the island or point that's out here. You might want to just paint in just a little dehaze on those trees so we can see a little more detail in the trees. The boats, everything is sharp and still and lovely image. You also may want to think about cropping down from the top a little bit to just above where you see that row of kind of darker pink clouds there in the middle. But just something to think about. This will be in.
18 is in. 19.
For this one, again, the photographer had a good idea here of following this creek, that leading line, which leads you back to the house and barns, and then the lovely fall colors up on the mountainside. But notice the yellows here. Again, they're blown out. It's overdone, and it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look appealing. Maybe we've oversaturated the yellows a little bit to try and bring them out, but it's done some bad things to the image itself. But the composition, the idea was great. This will be out.
19 is out. Number 20.
This is a very interesting structure and an interesting choice by the photographer to do it in black and white. You also might want to think about toning this to give it a little more, an old look, because obviously bad things have happened to this building. Looks like a fire or something. One of the things that's interesting about this is the roof and what's left there and the things that are growing through it. But it's hard to see because it's so dark. You might want to lighten up the area of the roof some so we can see some of the detail better. And also the, I guess it's the door that's so bright here. Maybe tone that down just a little bit. Don't know that that's really the thing that drew you to the image. It's probably all this structure and things that are left over from the fire or the disaster. This will be out.
20 is out. Number 21.
This is a lovely black and white. Also, that I think the photographer's done a good job of bringing out the texture, the clouds, and the sky. And we have a nice range of blacks and grays in the hillsides themselves. The one detracting element in this image is the trees that are just popping up across the bottom of the image. I think if you just crop it up just above those trees, it'll cause a couple of things. One, it'll get rid of that distraction. And two, it'll really emphasize this hill that's coming from the left down to the lower right corner, will emphasize that angle, which is offset by the following mountain and the following mountain, etc. So you really get a feeling of depth that way. But this will be out.
21 is out.
This
Number
is
22.
Yes, an interesting way to see Baltimore through the window. And notice the glass is just distorted enough that we get a little wavery thing going on in the city and in the cars and the trucks and the buses and things. So it's very interesting, well seen by the photographer. The one thing I would say is the image is a bit flat, and you may want to, go in and put in a little more contrast there, and that will make it give it a little more depth. This will be out.
22 is out. Number 23.
Another lovely coastal scene here of this curve that comes in and the waves as they're coming to the rocky beach. We've got the palm trees and the lighthouse up on the hill for context, etc. I think, you know, it's hard to make a better image here. The only thing that could be improved would be the light if it was a different time of day, but that's not when you were there. And maybe you couldn't have been there at a different time. But otherwise, the composition is nicely done. This will be out.
23 is out. 24.
A nice view of San Francisco. Notice the wind was blowing off of the land. You could tell by the flag. And also because there's no fog, so it's blowing the fog out to sea. Well composed, nice depth of field here. You can see the various layers of the houses and buildings as it goes up the hill. There's nothing going on in the sky. Do you want to crop that out and make it more of a pano? If you do, it's going to emphasize this dark building on the right. So you have some choices. You can, do the remove tool and erase that building. You can leave it in because it is there, or you could crop it on the right-hand side. Because it's on the edge, it kind of pulls you over there, away from the tower, which is really the center of interest. This will be out.
24 is out. 25.
A nice sunrise or sunset here, where we see really the illumination of those clouds towards the horizon, and the light scattered above it, with some of the reflection in the water. But I don't think there's enough going on here in the water to include it in the image. But there's also, this bank of clouds that's hanging right over the horizon, which isn't helping us any. So I'm sure it was a wonderful evening to be there, and good for you for capturing it. But I don't think it really conveys much as a photo. This will be out.
25 is out. Number 26.
Certainly a dramatic location, and the photographer did a nice job of emphasizing that by being low to the building. Couple problems here. There's not a lot that's sharp in this image. Look at the bush on the right, etc. And of course, we have the sky, which is bald, and it's a bit oversaturated. So it was a good place to be. It was the right angle to take, but some of the technical factors need to be worked on. This will be out.
26 is out. Number 27.
And the best part of this image is the light on the hill on the right-hand side. My guess is that may have been what really drew you to this location or to take this image. But we also have the interesting water down below and the light that's going on down there. My suggestion would be think about this maybe more as a narrower pano and eliminate the sky and the mountains and pull it down just into the forest so that we really then are looking, our eye is going to go to the brightest part, which will be the hillside on the right and the saturation there, and down by the water. You may want to work with that some, maybe take the temperature of the light up a little bit so it's a little more yellowish kind of light, which will help with some of the dull, winter kind of trees. But I think that's probably what drew your eye, and it certainly drew mine as well. This will be out.
27 is out. Number 28.
This is a good scene of, as the title said, the West. Vast expanses with mountains in the background and snow. Same thing here. The sky isn't helping you. Why not pull it down, crop it right down to the almost to the top of the mountains, make it a pano that will emphasize the length of the train and the flatness of the land here in the foreground. This will be out.
Number 28 is out. Number 29.
Good capture, good seeing this graphic image of the fence, the round pole, the shadows, and the texture of the sand, and what the water has done is the water went through the sand and how it sculpted it. Two things here. One, there's a lot of blue in this image, and I think if you converted it to pure black and white and take the blue out, you might find it's even more graphic. And the second is that unfortunately here in the middle with the broken part of the fence, it's a bit overexposed. So you may want to try and take that down, with a mask, etc., and bring it down to the tones of the rest of the fence parts there. But otherwise, well seen. So be out.
29 is out. 30.
This is a lovely view of the waterfront for a number of reasons. Number one, the horizon is level. The water is absolutely calm. The boats aren't rocking back and forth, so the masts are vertical. We've got nice reflections in the water. I don't know if it was Christmas time or not, but we've got lots of various colored lights that are also being reflected in the water. The composition is well done. We can see all the boats and everything very clearly. If I was going to nitpick on it, if you see the, I guess it's a window in the very far right side of the image, which is right on the edge. And anytime you have something bright on an edge, it kind of pulls your eye. You may want to make that disappear. Yeah, I know the reflection will still be there, but most people won't figure that out. But just to either make it disappear or darken it down a lot. This will be in.
30 is in. 31.
What an interesting place, right? I've never been there, Barracks Flats. We'll have to ask later where that is. But look at this is a high key image, right? It's all white. If you look at the histogram, it's all to the right. And it's the only time I've ever seen what I think is probably restrooms as an integral part of an image, a landscape. But I think that's probably what they are. But you know what? It's so far away and not well defined that you can't really tell. What you see is this wonderful snaking walkway path up here, up the hill. And of course, the lady in red taking a picture or whatever of the landscape. But the fact that it's all done in high key is what really emphasizes the gray road and the nature of these flats. This will be in.
31 is in. 32.
Oh, a good location for the photographer and well executed. The trees, the bark on the trees, everything is sharp, well defined, very textured, not overexposed. But we still see the lovely falls in the background and the sky, which is not obtrusive at all. Very nicely executed, but this will be out.
32 is out. 33.
Very creative look at this. So we have this lovely fall scene in the orb, and it's juxtaposed on a similar the background. And it's an interesting way to take a fall scene. Very creative. The colors are all complementary. We can see great detail in the part of the orb. The only suggestion I would have is the right-hand corner, lower corner, has a little bit of brightness to it. You may want to just darken that down a little bit, maybe a little vignetting or something down there in that corner, so it won't detract us from the scene in the orb. This will be in.
33 is in. 34.
Another interesting scene of Americana, if you will. of the marsh or field here, and then the highway snaking into the distance with the water tower, etc. I think here, if you're going to include the sky, there are some clouds up there. You may want to darken the blue a little bit gently to bring out some of the uh, cloud formations there, or increase your whites in the clouds a little bit. Otherwise, this will be out.
34 is out. 35.
This is also a lovely landscape that includes a lot of sky. So notice that the land and water is about a third of the image, and the sky is 2/3 of the image. And this works here because the clouds are varied and they're interesting, and there's a good deal of blue, but it's not overexposed and it's not oversaturated. And yet we've got interesting colors in the grasses in the marsh here. And then we have this leading line that goes through the grasses to the little clump of trees, etc., and into the distance. And the fact that the water kind of has a V coming out here to the lower corners of the image draws our eye in. So this is well composed. This will be in.
35 is in. 36.
Also a dramatic sky with the sun peeking through these clouds, which are dark and ominous, but the light is warm. We've got a lot of detail in the darker areas in the foreground, but we still see the fields very clearly. So a good capture of this time of day, but this will be out.
36 is out. 37.
Here we are in Yosemite again, and the river, which is running low and calm, and Half Dome. So sometimes you have to take a picture, regardless of what the light is or the time of day. Of course, coming back at a time when the light would have been a little lower might work, but then other parts of the image might have been in shadow. But we have the fishermen on the left and the people in the boats enjoying Yosemite and the river. The one thing that does detract is the log and the debris on the left-hand corner here. Because it's bright, because it's near the edge, it pulls us away from the people and the scene. So you may want to crop it in to just behind the man who's fishing to eliminate some of that. This will be out.
37 is out. 38.
This is a nice scene from above, looking down on this otherwise tall tree and the islands that are out in the lake, which is lovely. Unfortunately, the whole image is a bit green, so there's a color cast going on here. I don't know if that was in camera or in post processing, but you probably want to go back and see what you can do about that. So the green and blue sliders may give you a clue there. I see there is some light shining through on the hill behind the tree, which is nice and a good place, but it just wasn't working. This will be out.
38 is out. 39.
Another interesting black and white and well seen by the photographer, not only because of the play of the fences and the light on them, but also the shadows on the sand, which is not flat. It's been walked on or whatever. And so you get these ripples in the shadows, which is very interesting. Notice what the photographer's done to the sky is taken it very dark, so that your eye stays down on the fences and the sand and the shadows. My only suggestion, if the photographer wanted to, you could crop this down. It is a totally different image then, but you could crop it down to below the top of the fences. So then we just have the intricacies of the fences themselves and their shadows on the sand. This will be in.
39 is in. 40.
So this is a lovely Americana scene as well. And my guess is when the photographer walked into this, obviously they saw the windmill, but it's the light on the rolling hill to the right that's just magical. And it really emphasizes the topography of the land there. And then, of course, we have the interest of the truck going down the road, etc. So the image is really from about the curve of the road to the right. So you can, and the other thing is that because the field on the left-hand side here is bright and highly saturated, it pulls us away from the really cool part of the image. So if you cropped it in from the right some, that would get rid of some of that. But you have the tree sticking in there, so there, the trade-offs here. You may want to try just darkening the field there to the left so it doesn't pull us away. Lots of things you could try with that, but the beauty of the image is on the right-hand side. This will be out.
40 is out. 41.
This is a wonderful image because of all the texture and the shapes that are involved. And it's just about texture and shapes, obviously. Excuse me. Notice we don't have any sky. We have very, very little of the background hills behind the sand, so that we just focus on these incredible shapes and then the texture in the sand. And then the interesting part of the fact that the foreground sand is so much different in color than the background sand. So it really leads you to scratch your head, but it's very well done. This will be in.
41 is in. 42.
So I see what the photographer was trying to do with this overhang pointing to the city. But it's roughly half of the image, the black. And then we have the lower part is also black. So we have very little information going on in the majority of the image. And where we do see the city behind it, there's very little detail there too. So you could play with increasing the exposure on the city so we can see a bit more of the detail there. If you were thinking you would make it all in silhouette, it's not quite silhouette dark enough. So it's kind of neither here nor there. The motion of the ferry coming down the river is interesting, but the rest of the image could use a little more work. This will be out.
42 is out. 43.
This is another placid, nice scene, good reflection in the water, lovely trees. I think for this one, you may want to increase the exposure in the trees and the reflection equally to give us a little more information in the trees, a little more interest, because otherwise it kind of, because they and their reflection are such a large percentage of the image and detail less, that we kind of say, what's going on here? So there's a lot of detail there. You can bring it out with just increasing the exposure some. This will be out.
43 is out. 44.
I really love this image, and you're never supposed to say, I like this or I don't like that. But I love the way the photographer placed themselves right smack in the middle of the canal, and then chose the wide-angle lens, which gave a nice curve to the fence and the boardwalk that's there. The buildings are still perpendicular and varied and interesting. But the killer for this image, which is easily fixed, are the obstructions in the corners, probably from the lens hood that you had on or a filter that you had on the lens. But these can be easily removed these days in post-processing with the remove tool and other things. So I would go back and fix the corners, and then you've got a very nice image. This will be out.
44 is out. 45.
The light on these rocks is very appealing, and we see it in the clouds as well. It looks like the photographer may have jacked the saturation up just a little bit, because if you look at the fence and the dirt down here in the foreground, etc., it is a little pink, pinkish orange. So you may want to go back, leave the light that's on the rocks. That's very nice, and adjust your saturation and whatever else you did in the foreground here, just to take it a little less reddish, pinkish orange. It's an interesting scene. The rocks are very interesting. The fence adds a little interest to it as well. This will be out.
45 is out. 46.
This is a lovely image as well. Well captured with, oops, hold on, I'm losing you. Bear with me 1 second. I think I lost my Zoom.
Okay, take your time.
There we are. Okay, so a lovely image with great color among the hills, the rolling hills. You get the sense of the depth and the very varied amount of the mountains, and then the lovely colors in the sky. The tree in the lower right-hand corner, I don't know that we need or that adds any context. So I would suggest thinking about propping it up just above that tree. You won't lose any of the variation in the hills. In fact, in some ways, it may enhance it. And then from the top, you see the dark blue part in the lower upper left-hand corner, maybe cropping down just below that. So all we have are these variations of color and the topography. And I think you'll be pleased with it that way. This will be out.
46 is out. 47.
This is a very nice record shot of Fort McHenry. You could even darken the blue in the sky just a hair. But notice the photographer had good timing here, how the flag is standing out. But they used a fast enough shutter speed that it's not blurred. And then we have the trees, which kind of frame it, and the fence as well. I mean, it's a very well composed record shot. This will be out.
Okay, 47 is out. I think that's everything. Let me find my mouse over here. Get us back to the list. Let's hide everything but. Oh, was that it? Do we have 9?
Yes.
Great. So we've got 9 images. Let me blow them up on the screen a little bit here, if I can. No, that's the wrong one. Is that as far as we can go? I think that's as far as we can go on the screen. So Cynthia, whenever you're ready, we could place like we did last time.
Okay. We'll start with the honorable mentions. I will mention to number 5.
That is, I'm trying to work 2 screens here. That is number 31. That is honorable mention. There we go.
And I'll mention to number 5.
That is, I've got to scroll here every time. That's number 33. Oh, come on. Okay.
I'll mention also to number 5.
That is 35, Super Sky. Okay.
I'll mention to number 5.
That is 39.
I'll mention to number 3.
And that is number 18. Keep doing that.
Fourth place to number 1.
That is number 5, 4th place.
Third place to number 2.
3rd place to, as soon as the name comes up. Number 30.
Second place to one.
Second place to image number 13. And that means our big winner is number 41. Christine, you want to go ahead and read us our winners?
Okay, let's start with our honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 31, Borax Flats, John Milliker.
That, I'm pretty sure it's Death Valley where they have all the borax mining and the mule team mining. And there were some other people in there, but I'm not going to tell that secret that I cloned out. But yeah, I wanted to go black and white, but I just couldn't get away from that lady with the red shirt.
Honorable mention number 33, View of a Cascade, Jackie Colstock. Honorable mention number 35, Super Sky, Debbie Wolf. Honorable mention number 39, LJS, Louis Sapienza. Um, 18, honorable mention, Scudic Sunset, Ron Pfeiffer.
I keep bringing this picture back in, hoping somebody will like it one day. But anyway, it's from Maine, and it was a sunset there. And I intentionally tried to work the picture to get a bit of a pastel look to it. So it looked the way it did because that's kind of the way I pushed it.
Fourth place is number 5, Bison in Mist, Clarence Carvel. Third place is number 30, Annapolis Harbor, Fred Venetia.
Yeah, I took that at Christmas time, you're right. And I cropped in, and I was trying to crop it in on the right side there where it wouldn't cut a boat in the middle. And I didn't even notice the thing up on top. You're absolutely right.
Is that from AYC?
What's that?
Is that from AYC? Where'd you take it?
It was on the bridge.
On the bridge.
It was 25 cents.
Second place is Hemlock Falls, Doug Wood. And he says that this was taken just outside Falls Creek State Park in Tennessee. And Jackie's, her honorable mention, View of Cascade, was in Patuxent State Park. And then first place is White Sands, Clarence Carvel.
Great. Cynthia, you are back on the screen with us. Thank you so much for the fantastic comments and the fantastic judging. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to see your wonderful images. I'm sorry I couldn't give them all awards, but next time.
Okay, let's bring Christine up one more time. She's going to talk about our upcoming schedule, and then we'll call it a night.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Join us next week for our program by Michael Oberman on wildlife and nature photography. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, Cynthia.